Hey everyone, it is TK Friday. On today's episode, it is vignettes and spotlights. Stay tuned. Hello everyone and welcome to the Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly. On today's episode, it's the TK7 Go panel, and we're going to use the TK7 combo panel. We're going to use actions. We're going to use vignetting actions, regular vignettes. We're going to use freehand vignettes. We're going to use spotlighting actions. And these vignettes and spotlights will really help you to really craft your images into something kind of on the special side. I'll be working with two different examples today. So I have this image here and I have this one right here. Now, I'm going to use vignettes and spotlights to kind of craft these images. Now, these images came right out of Lightroom Classic into Photoshop. I did most of the adjusting right in Lightroom. They were pretty much done coming in here to Photoshop. But now I just want to take them over the top, and this is going to be very easy, but you'll find out that the vignettes and spotlights can really help craft your image. I was talking to Tony the other day, and he was telling me about the vignettes and spotlights, and he said, vignettes are really the best technique for keeping your eye in the frame. So we as photographers and image crafters, we want to keep our viewers into our frames. We don't want them wandering out of the frame. And by carefully placing our vignettes and spotlights, we will keep them in the frame. We'll start out easy here. Now I have this group right here. And let me go ahead and open up this group. And you'll see in here I have a vignette layer. And I have a spotlight layer, which says dodge, but that's actually a spotlight layer. Let me turn it on and see the difference here. Did you see what happened there? I have this nice vignette around the edge of the image here and a spotlight in the center. And let me shut it off, so take a look at it with it off. And now I'm going to turn it back on. Do you see what that's doing? It very effectively keeps the viewer into the frame and looking at the area that I want them to look at. I'm going to go ahead and collapse this layer, and we're going to shut this layer off, and we'll start from scratch. Let's start out by putting a simple vignette around the edge of the image to keep the viewer into the frame. Remember, that's what this is all about. So let's go over to our TK7 combo panel, or if you happen to have the CxPanel opened up, you can use either one. They all have the same. They both have the same actions and buttons, but they're just different shape. But you want to come down to the TK Play right here. And just click this, and all your actions live in here, okay? And they're in different groups, okay? But we're going to be in the action section right here, and we have vignette, freehand vignette, and spotlight. We're going to be using all three of these today, but we're going to start out with a simple vignette. This is a simple vignette around the edges of your image. So go ahead and click this, and the action will run itself, and a Gaussian blur dialog box comes up here with a radius which is predetermined by the action. Just accept it for what it is. It's for your image and your image size, and just click OK. Now here's what happens here. You're set up with a curves adjustment layer with no adjustment on it, with a layer mask, and you can see what the layer mask has done for you. The action has created this layer mask to put a vignette around the edge, and notice here that the blend mode is in multiply blend mode, which darkens things. And we have an opacity of 50%. Now watch the image as I shut this layer off. There's the before and there's the after. And you can see we have a very beautiful vignette around the edge. Now we can make some adjustments here because right now the opacity is at 50%. If we take the opacity and start to drag it to the right, we can darken that vignette. So you don't have to take the default setting. You can move it wherever you like it. But I think 50% was really good for this image. But you can go less even if you think you don't want that much. But for this image, I think 50% is going to be perfect. So one more time, here's the before and here's the after. Next, we want to add a spotlight to the center right here to get some light here in the center. And to do that, what we're going to do is we're not going to use the spotlight action in here. We're going to use that eventually in the next image, but for now, no. I'm going to come up to the regular luminosity mask, this first icon right here in the TK7 Go panel. Click this, and we're going to go with a mids 1 mask, okay? It's selecting the midtones of the image. All right, so a mid 1's mask, and we're going to put it on a dodge layer. Now, this dodge layer has two different sides to it. The right side gives you a blank pixel layer that you'll be dodging through a selection. The left side gives you a 50% gray layer that you'll be dodging through a selection as well. I'm going to use the gray layer so you can actually see what the dodge looks like. And you'll see that in a second here, but I'm going to go ahead and click this. And what happens here, well, you're going to get a warning here. It says no pixels are more than 50% selected. Don't worry about that. Just click OK. Hey, no big deal. All right, I get it. Okay, you can see the red dashed lines here, meaning I have a selection here, okay? And I have a dodge layer here right now that's 50% gray. There's nothing on it. I'm going to get myself a nice big paintbrush, like a huge paintbrush like this. Okay, you can't see the edges now because it's really big, and when it's bigger than my canvas, you don't see it for some reason. I don't know if that's since the new update of Photoshop, but you don't see it. But hopefully you can see that cursor right there. But I have a nice big soft brush that I'm using. And we're using white paint. The action sets you up for white paint. And I have my opacity set right now, as you can see up here, for 20%. So what I'm going to do is, with the left click of a mouse, click this once. It gets a little lighter. It may be hard to see, but I'm going to click it again. I'm going to click it again. It's getting a little lighter each time I click it. I'm going to click it. I think that's the third click. Now let's come over here to this layer. I'm going to shut it off. Can you see it there, off and on? See how it's just letting that light there in the center? I might just give it one more hit right here, one more click. So here it is off, and here it is on. But it's giving me that nice little spotlight there in the center. Now, if I option click or alt click on this layer, what I want you to see is what that layer mask looks like. But you see what that mid one mask is doing? It's protecting the lightning to not get on the actual tree trunks, because that would not look right, would it? If we have light coming from behind the tree, we would not want to see light on the front of the tree. And anybody viewing it would their brain would tell them, hey, there's something wrong with this picture here, because I shouldn't see light on the front of the tree unless, I was shining a flashlight on it, but naturally you would not see it. Let's take a look at the image again. Let me option click this, or you could alt click this to see the image again. Okay, so here's the image with the spotlight. Here it is without the spotlight. So that's without, and here it is with. All right, now let's go back to the original image and see what we've done to it. So here's the before. And remember, this came straight from Lightroom, and it was basically adjusted. So now let me go ahead and option or alt click the background layer again, and now we can see the after. So that's the before, and here is the after. Who would have thought that a simple vignette and a spotlight could make that much of a difference? But it does. All right, now we're going to move on to the next example. Now this image came right out of Lightroom Classic, basically adjusted. I like the image. I love this tree here. To me, this tree is the star of the show. It's kind of in the center of the frame, and it's colorful, it's light, and we have these beautiful rocks around it and some ferns here, which gives you kind of a leading line up into the tree itself. And then we have these rocks over here. There's a little bit of lightness here that pulls me out of the frame. So remember, this is all about keeping the viewer into the frame and just tailoring the image a little bit here. Okay, so spotlighting and vignetting. Here is what it looks like, again, out of Lightroom. Now here's what it looks like after a little bit of spotlighting and vignetting. What do you think? Again, here is the before, and here is the after. Let me open up this group here, and you can see I have two spotlights, a freehand vignette. I've burned through a mid-ones selection on a 50% gray layer. I'll show you how we do that. And then I added a simple vignette at the end. So I went from here, and then I end up here. Now let me go ahead and collapse this group and shut it off, and we will go ahead and start from scratch. The first thing I'm going to do is add a spotlight to this tree right here. Okay, so to do that, we're going to get an elliptical marquee tool. I'm just going to click on that tool and draw an elliptical marquee around this tree, just like so. It can be loose, and then once you've made the marquee, you can just click it and move it around with your mouse. If you go into the center, you see that, and then you can drag this around. So I'm going to put it right here, and then I'm going to go over to my TK actions, click on here, and now we're going to go to this spotlight action. I'm going to click it, and the Gaussian blur dialog box comes up, and again, this radius is predetermined by the action. I'm going to click OK. And there we go. You can see this layer mask with the spotlight right there that we created from the elliptical marquee tool. We're on a curves adjustment layer with no adjustment on it. We're in the screen blend mode at an opacity that's defaulted at 33%. Now let me go ahead and shut this layer off. So watch this tree. Here it is without the spotlight, and here it is with the spotlight. You see that? It's subtle, but it's lighting up that tree. And if I feel I need more, which I don't, but I can take this opacity, move it to the right, and I can lighten it up more. But I'm going to keep it back pretty much where it was. Let's go 34%. So here's the before, and here's the after. Next, I want to add a spotlight to these ferns right here. Again, an elliptical marquee tool, just right like so. And I'll just move it into position. I'm going to go back and grab another spotlight and just click on this action right here. And again, the same deal. The Gaussian blur comes up. I'm going to click OK. And now let's watch the fern as I shut this off. Here's the before and here's the after. Now that may be a little too light, so I'm going to bring that one back a little bit because I don't want too much attention drawn there. Remember, whenever people are looking at your images, anything that is light, people will be drawn to the light. Okay, so let me shut this off and on. Now here's a very good tip for you. After you start making some adjustments like this, it's always good to go back to the background layer just to see where you've come from. So if you hold your Alt or Option key down, depending if you're on a Mac or PC, and click the background layer, you can see the before. Okay, there's the before, and here's the after. So I can see I'm going in the right direction. Next up, we're going to do a freehand vignette. Because what I want to do next is I feel these rocks are just a little bit too light. And I feel if I can just darken those a little bit, this will even pop out even more. That little bit of light on it, paired against some of the darkness around here, will set this up for my viewer to really come and look at my beautiful tree here that I want them to look at. And I'm subtly telling them, look at that tree. And you'll see here how easy this is. Next, I want to get a lasso tool, and it's this tool right here. Click on that, you'll get a lasso tool. Or you could just use the shortcut L, which is what I like to do. And I'm going to basically draw a loose selection around the tree and the ferns like this. I'm going to start here and go like so, and be wiggly and loose and organically shaped, coming in and out like so. And we're going to finish up like that. Okay, so I got that shape on there, and I know it looks kind of crazy. Next, what we'll do is click on the TK Action button and come and get a freehand vignette. Give that a click, and when you do, the Gaussian blur dialog comes up again, and a predetermined radius is set for you. Just click OK. But check this out. Here's the before, and here's after. Isn't that cool? Now, I got to be honest with you. That's probably too dark because I don't want it to look unrealistic. So what I want to do is, now again, we're using a curves adjustment layer without an adjustment on it in the multiply blend mode, an opacity of 50%, but that's too strong. So we're going to take it back. And I'm thinking maybe to like around 23, maybe. Let's try this. Let's see the before and the after. But you see how that subtly, it just gets a little darker. But now, do you see how much emphasis is drawn to this tree? And now let's option click the background again, or alt click it, depending. Here's the before. And it looks good, but now, check this out. After a few adjustments here to it, a few little tweaks, here is the after. So now, you're definitely looking at my tree here, which is what I want you to look at. And these rocks are darker back here, so that's helping it, making you really check this tree out. But I have a couple issues I need to take care of, and I think this area is too light. My eye is being led here. I still want you more into the tree. There's some areas in between the tree here that need to be darkened a little bit, and at the top of the tree right around in here. To fix these issues, we need to come up to the TK7 Go panel, back to that first icon for the luminosity masks. And we're going to get a mids 1 mask again, just like we've done before. We're going to get a mids 1 mask. But instead of dodging, remember we dodged on a 50% gray background. This time we're going to burn on a 50% gray background. So here's your burn right here icon. So we're going to click this for the 50% gray background. And again, we get the warning. Just click OK. No problem. We're cool with that. And so now we're going to be burning through a selection on a mids 1 mask on this 50% gray layer. And the action sets us up with black paint. So I have my opacity right now set at 20%, which I think is good. Now let me adjust my brush size here. And I apologize if you guys can't see my brush here. It's my software. I've tried everything to make this brush show up, and I can't get it to show up any better. If anybody knows of a piece of software out there that can let me do that, and if it'll work on my machine, I'll probably switch out my software. I like my software. It's called ScreenFlow, but if there's any other software out there, I might have to invest in it. But what I'm going to do is burn these areas through that mids one mask. Okay, so I'm just going to areas I want to burn at 20%. Now remember, every time I paint and not lift my brush, I get 20% down. And then when I lift the brush and paint again, I get another 20%. Now remember, I am painting through a selection, so I can paint pretty aggressively through here, and it will build up very slowly. So I'm continuing just to really paint through this area, through that selection. If I option or alt click this mask, you can see what it looks like. You see how it's painting through here. Now it's protecting my super dark tones and my super light tones. So it's protecting those, and I'm maintaining a lot of texture in here, which is really cool, which is what that midtones one mask magically does for us. I'm going to option or alt click this to get it back. Let's check this out, the before and the after. You see how that's darkened? And I might just darken it a little bit more, especially over this rock over here on the edge, kind of making my own kind of vignette through a mid one selection. Now I'm going to go in this area. Remember I said I want this area to be a little bit darker, even in here. And this mids one is protecting these very highlighted areas of this tree here. So I don't have to be real precise here, but just the areas I want to darken down. And I may just want to darken some of this down over here, just like so. I might get this here a couple more times. Remember, every time I lift, I'm throwing another 20% down and in here. So let's take a look. Here's the before and here's the after. Before and after. Oh, and I did want to get this area right up here a couple times. Give it a few hits. All right, now let's try that again. Here's the before and here's the after. But you see how I'm sculpting this image? I'm just using some simple dodging, burning, spotlights, vignettes, and let's take a look. Here again is the before and here's the after on just that burn layer. And if I option click this layer, we can see what I've done. The selection has protected the highlights and the shadows, which is really nice. Now let me option click this again and get it back. So now let's go back to the very beginning of the background. Let me option click. Here's the before and study that for a second. And now here is the after. But there you go. Now you can go back and readjust things here. So for instance, if I think this spotlight, which is on the tree, is too much, let's go to this layer here. And I could pull it back a little bit if I wanted to. And I might just do that. I might take it back to like a 25. Let me shut this off before and after. Yeah, I think that's good. After I added the, the darkening to the rocks, I think this needed to be pulled back a little bit. But again, let's take a look at the background. Here's the before and here's the after. But that wasn't hard, was it? I mean, the TK7 Go panel, the actions on the combo and CxPanel. I love it when I'm working in Photoshop. It really helps you and it makes your life easier. For a little bit of organization, let's put everything we've done in a group. Okay, so right now the spotlight layer is selected. I'm going to go ahead and hold the shift key down and click right in this area right here, not on the words here, but right in this area right here. Hold the shift key down, click. It selects all these layers right here. Now notice right now this red indicator indicates that we have a mids one selection. We want to shut that off because if we don't, when we make a group, it'll put a layer mask with a mid ones mask on it. We don't want that. So to get rid of that selection, there's a button for that. Just click this button right here. It'll remove the selection. And then we have an action here to put this into a group. Now we have a choice here. We can put it in a group with a white reveal all layer mask or a black hide all layer mask. If we click on the left side, I want to put it in a group with a white mask. So I'm going to click right here and it puts it in a group. And let's just rename that group lighting. Just, for lack of a better title for now, that's good enough. And now let's get rid of this group because we don't need it anymore. So I'm just going to click on this group and I'm going to click this trash can right here. And it gets rid of that. So now we're organized because, there's probably some more things I want to do to this image, but this is a good way to end. Now, right now, if I was all said and done, I would just come up here to File and choose Save. And that would save it with all my layers intact. And remember, I started from Lightroom. So when I go back to Lightroom, you'll find my file there. And if I ever need to work on it again, I can just right click it with my mouse, edit in Photoshop as an original file, and it would open up in Photoshop with the layers intact. Hold up, stop, hold the presses. I forgot to add the final vignette to this image. Okay, so if I open up this group, you see I forgot the vignette. Now, if I click on burn here and then click on the TK action and click on vignette, and it'll run the action here and it puts the vignette around the edge. I click OK. You would think it would go inside the group here, but it doesn't. So all we have to do here is take this layer and drag it down inside the group, because I want to keep it inside the group to keep things organized. And there's my vignette around the edge. That's too much. That's at 50%. Let me just pull this back the whole way off and just build it up slowly, because I think I want a vignette around maybe a 21. Here's the before the vignette and here's the after. Just that little extra vignette at the end, I think, really makes it. So let's look at the overall before, and here's the after. Sorry about that. I forgot that final vignette. Well, there you go, working with spotlights, vignettes, crafting your images, getting your viewer to look at the places you want them to look at, keeping your viewer into the frame. Give it a try. I think you'll find it's pretty easy to do. And then let me know what you think. Please give me comments and questions. If you have any questions, let me know. If you enjoyed the tutorial today, please give it a like, share it with your friends. If you're not yet a subscriber to my channel, please subscribe, click that bell notification icon. Then every time I upload a new tutorial, you'll be notified about it. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me today in the Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly. I'll see you all here next time. But until then, happy editing.